Good afternoon everyone, thanks for attending today as always. A pleasure to be back in Scotland after what was such a thrilling night on May the 11th at the Emirates Arena. Delighted to announce that very quickly Ricky Burns is back in the ring again, September the 7th at the SECC, taking on the WBO number 8, IBF number 3, WBC number 6, Raymundo Beltran in the 4th defence of his WBO lightweight title. I'm really pleased with the fight. I was out tying it up in America last week with Bob Aaron. Beltran is someone who's very, very well respected in the game, coming off 3 impressive victories. If you haven't had a chance to see his fight with Kim on YouTube, watch it. He's a very entertaining fighter. Again, someone who's ranked widely across with all the governing bodies, very highly, and outside of the world champions, probably the most credible challenger that I believe we could have faced. Credit again to Ricky Burns and to Billy. Very easy to select this opponent. The criteria was we'll fight anyone. And again, you know, we're already in talks with American broadcasters about taking this fight in the US, and some interesting potential fights already being looked at for very early in 2014 with the likes of Terence Crawford at Madison Square Garden. So this is a huge fight for Ricky Burns. Obviously the last performance was edgy as seat stuff. You know, Ricky wasn't at his best, but he ground out a tremendous victory, and the atmosphere at the Emirates was incredible. And we're looking forward to another huge night live on Sky Sports on September the 7th. Tickets have just gone on sale from all the details above. So to introduce the top table, down on our right is our unbeaten lightweight star, Scotty Cardle, who will be boxing for the first time in Scotland on September the 7th in a title fight. To his left, Ricky's trainer, Billy Nelson, and of course the WBO lightweight champion, Ricky Burns. To my left, delighted again to be working with Alec Morrison, Ricky's manager, John Simpson, who gave us a great fight against Choi. He's fully recovered now after what we knew was always going to be a great battle, and he'll be in action again on September the 7th. And Stephen Simmons, who's making huge waves in the cruiserweight division, going to be in a big fight on September the 7th again. And David Brophy down the end, who was in a great fight with Gary Bolden last time, and we love David because he sells a huge amount of tickets. And we're going to open the table quickly just to say a few words about the Ricky Burns fight. Billy, talk about a little bit about Raymond Beltran, what we expect the last fight, and moving forward to this one.
Ray Beltran is going to, I think it'll be an exceptional fight. He's rated in the top 10 of all the top organisations. He's got an excellent trainer, Freddie Roach. He's got top quality sparring over there, and I think it'll be a tremendous fight. He brings a lot to the table. He's got great left hook, good body puncher, so we've got a lot to work against. But in saying that, he's got to deal with Ricky. I just see a fantastic fight on the 7th.
And thoughts on the last one?
Well, we all know that Ricky spent a long time in the gym, maybe they got to say 8 months, and I think, to our own admission, it did take its toll on the fight. But you've seen the champions side of Ricky Burns coming through, and Gonzalez ended up with didn't want any part of it. The last championship rounds. That's the difference between a grade A fighter and the rest of the fighters.
And Ricky, straight back out. I know you know a little bit about Beltran, you've watched him, and I think some might think it's an easier fight than we think it is, but you know it's a tough night.
No, I think it's going to be a very good fight. Obviously he's not been a sparring partner for Manny Pacquiao for several years for no reason. We're just going to treat this the same as any other one though. I don't cut any corners when it comes to training, so I know whatever he brings on fight night, I'm going to obviously hopefully we'll get out there and deal with it.
And moving forward, making a statement I think is important in this fight. Obviously, I haven't spoken to you about my discussions last week, but this is a very big fight in your career now to go out and make a big statement before we move potentially to the other side of the pond.
I think that in this fight as well, I'm going to have to prove a lot of people wrong again, especially after the last fight. People have been saying, oh, he's no got it. Obviously, if I can't box like that, and we were talking about obviously these bigger fights happening. Going on that performance, people are saying that I've not got a chance. But one fight at a time, no matter what happens in there, I always grind out the win. I find a way to win, and that's the main thing.
Thanks, Ricky. And just to confirm, tickets on sale September the 7th, SECC. We're really looking forward to this one. Like I said, Bob Aaron was very buoyant in New York last week about Beltran's chances. They've got Terence Crawford as well at top rank, so I'm sure they'd love to put the two of those guys together, but we've got other plans. And very excited about this fight, as is a lot of people actually in America. There's a lot of people talking about this fight already out there, and this is going to be a great fight. So we're going to break shortly. We're going to open the floor to one-on-ones, and then we can break for questions, and then we'll break for one-on-ones. So any questions from the floor?
Eddie, you admitted there were doubters about Ricky following the last fight.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you take on a 22-0 Puerto Rican, you hope that he's a hype job. Unfortunately, he wasn't. He was very, very good, and Ricky definitely wasn't at his best. So, you know, after 6 rounds of that fight, you know, I think he looked around the arena and thought, blimey, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, Ricky just found a way and grinded out a win. The 7th round was one of the best I've ever seen. The atmosphere was one of the best we've ever experienced. And that's the mark of a champion. You know, he said that he was injured, his hand was injured. I know there was nothing confirmed, but at the end of the day, I think he decided that he didn't want to go on. And if you can force your opponent into that kind of mind frame, then you're going to get the victory. And I think he would have gone on to win the fight. I think he would have won every round. And we would have got a draw. So, but he's got to be better, and he knows that. And you know, we're talking about being the best in the division. And I think, you know, especially with Broner moving up, I think that Ricky is the best lightweight in the division. And I think we've got to go out and prove that. And Beltran is the perfect opponent to do that. Stylistically, he's going to come forward and he's going to try and have a war with Ricky Burns, which is always great to see. And this is the one that's going to send messages out to not just the fans, but also, you know, the power players and the broadcasters across the world that Ricky is the #1 in the division. And if they want a piece of him, they're going to have to pay up or come to Scotland for a huge fight.
Ricky, what do you make of Eddie speaking about prospect from Madison Square Garden? How would that suit you?
It's always good to hear things like that, but maybe me one fight at a time. If I know that I've got a tough fight here in September. If I don't get by this, then these fights in America and New York, they aren't going to happen. So I need to bring my A game this time. But the mistakes that were made the last fight, they're not going to happen again. Sorry?
It's been your dream to fight in America, hasn't it?
I know, I've always said I would love to fight over there, whether it be obviously Las Vegas or New York. That's where the big fights always happen in America. So if all goes well, we get out here, we get by Beltran the 7th, then obviously there's still negotiations to do that, so keep my fingers crossed.
Ricky, is it your burning ambition to unify the titles, to become undisputed champion?
I've said it all. I would love to obviously go out and get these big unification fights. There is some big fights out there at lightweight. Obviously you've still got you've got Vasquez and you've got Richard Abril as well, WBA champion. These are fights that are still a possibility as long as I come through in the 7th of September.
He wants the ring belt.
What's
So he won.
The top of the list, the ring belt.
Any other questions, guys?
Why is this fight not at the Emirates?
Because the Emirates wasn't available in September, and you know, the SECC was always a venue we were happy to go to, but it's really important to give Ricky the opportunity to box twice more this year. And you know, we'll see what happens with the American situation, but this way, by boxing him on September the 7th, we can get him out here in the November or early December, which I think is key, because I want him boxing as frequently as possible and going into those big fights with a huge amount of momentum.
And your predecessor always spoke about having a big title defence outdoors, given this is Scotland and given we don't have much weather in the summer. Was that ever a consideration?
Yeah, and you know, my thought remains that I want to bring the big fights to Scotland. You know, that nothing's changed in that respect, but obviously when you're in meetings out in America and they're talking about Madison Square Gardens, and you know, that obviously appeals, and not just to me, but it appeals to their fighters. I mean, that's, you know, as much as he wants to box in Scotland, the thought of a huge fight out there in the Garden is, you know, it's a dream come true. So my aim is still to have these big fights in Scotland, you know, and I think we can do that. I think we can do both. But certainly we won't be doing an outdoor fight in January or February. But I think if we did go to America around that period, that would be the perfect time, following the win in America, to do a big stadium fight outdoors in the summer. So that's very much still in the mindset. Right guys, we're going to break for some photos and then everyone's available here for one-on-ones. Thank you for attending. See you on September the 7th.